Welcome to True Print for Life. I'm your host, Christina Vera.
And I'm your co-host, Maylin and Sambois.
So today we have a special guest. I know we say special guest every single time.
This is super special.
But this is super special. Like, I don't think you get more special than the guest we have today. I'm excited to introduce to you Maritza Anthony, who is not only our guest, but she's actually my mother. So you can't get more special than meeting the originator. And we're excited to have you today, to be here to talk about just all the amazing things you've done professionally. You know, it's interesting as we have continued to grow in this space of business and with the podcast, just how many people we've met along the process who have had very similar journeys and in corporate America versus entrepreneurship. And you've had a very successful career in both sectors, both corporate America and entrepreneurship. So I think our listeners are in for a real treat just to learn more about you and just some of the things that you've been able to accomplish and some of the things that you have learned that I know she often is trying to teach me, and I think even Maylin.
Yes.
Because my mom has been a huge part of also us founding our nonprofit organization. As many of you know, Maylin and I co-founded a nonprofit organization 9 years ago.
9 years ago, officially in January.
Yes.
Unofficially, like 11, guys.
Right, officially, I almost think 12,
Yes.
actually. And so we're super excited to have you here with us today. And so share with us just a little bit. I know your journey very well, but I really want to be able to let our listeners learn more.
I might throw you off, though.
Don't share anything too much. I don't have wine. I don't want to be emotionally scarred.
Anything you want. I'm her adopted Dominican daughter, so she can share whatever she wants.
You're my second child, said I can share anything I want. Well, thank you so much, ladies. I'm really excited to be here. Honored that you ladies have taken the time to invite me and ask me to be a part of this. I have been a mom for, about
70 years.
30. Well, yeah. I've been a mom for almost 40 years. I became a teen mom. I was really young. I was 15 and I had total of 6 kids, 4 biological and 2 step babies. I've got 16 beautiful grandchildren. I have some great grandbabies. So I say all of that because sometimes people think that because you're in a situation, you're stuck in that situation. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later because I can't even imagine telling myself at 15 that I would be able to accomplish the things that I've been able to accomplish in my journey. So the one thing that I do want to say is Christina was right. I've had an opportunity to be in both corporate America as well as entrepreneurship. Corporate America was a very eye-opening experience. When I first moved to Columbus about 30 years ago, the environment was not as inviting for minorities to do anything that would show you intelligence or show that you're growth, that there's potential of growth. I started working at this company that I was really passionate about. I tried to learn everything I could about the organization. I used to take my breaks and my lunch hours to go sit in different departments because I really wanted to learn. I really wanted to grow. But what I didn't realize was that it wasn't what I knew, it was who I knew. And then I started saying, okay, something's wrong with this. Like, I know all that stuff. Why did they give him that job or her that job? And as I matured in the corporate environment, I started learning that it was not about always what you knew, but who you knew. And it wasn't fair. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I remember my manager, which I feel like I want to say his name, but I'm not. I'm going to save him from it. At that time, this was back in the mid-90s, I said to him, I'm ready to move up. I've been here for 2 years, and I went from customer service rep to lead, and now I'm ready to be a manager, blah, blah, blah. And he said, you're freshly off the boat, and you already want to run the ship? And I was like, I was thrown off. But I was very naive. I didn't realize that was very inappropriate, obviously. But what he didn't realize is that he gave me the drive to say, you're damn right. I'm ready to, move this boat along, and I'm going to be the one driving it. So that gave me the inspiration, and I don't know, the energy, the inspiration, the tenacity to say, you know what, I'm going to prove to myself, because at that point it was no longer about what he said or anyone else, to myself that I can do this. The challenges continued because I was young. I have 4 children by this time, in my mid-20s, already a mother of 4. I was married, and I was not in a relationship or marriage that was supportive. Key number 2.
Right.
You have to make sure that you're in a situation where you're feeling supported in order for you to grow and move forward. First one, don't let anybody tell you different. And second one, surround yourself with people that are going to support you. But these were lessons that I had to learn. I did not have that. I didn't have the support. I was given basically ultimatums. You stay home and raise the kids, or, I want a divorce. Well, I was happily divorced because I decided I was going to pursue my career. And I did. I continued to grow in the company. I was able to move around different areas of the company. I was able to not just move around in different areas of the company, but experience different states. Like, they would send me in different states to open call centers and help with that. And here I am, a GED graduate with very little college, but the determination was so much bigger than any degree can possibly give me. I was so determined to prove that I could do this. So much that when people would sometimes, make fun of my accent, I was very New York when I first moved here. And I used to have people say, wow, you sound like Rosie Perez. That I would stand in front of the mirror at nighttime and learn how to hide the accent so that I can sound more like I belong, so that I can sound like you want to listen, you want to hear me out. I didn't want them to hear the accent. I wanted them to hear me. So that took, some kind of prepping and coaching, self-coaching, and I didn't know that's what that was. Now I know, because I didn't have anyone to say, you should do this or do that. And that's what I love about Femergy. You ladies give girls and women that platform to say, I'm not sure if I'm doing this right, and then giving them the resources to say, okay, if you don't think you're doing it right, maybe you can go this route and see if this fits for you, or this route and see if that fits for you. So that's, kind of my journey. That's where I've been, and I still have quite a bit to go. I'm in my mid-50s and still have another 40, 50 years to go to,
She looks amazing. You have to look at the video. I want you to look at the video. You remember the children she mentioned? You couldn't tell by just seeing her. Just want to make sure you pip up the video on YouTube.
Yeah. So I think that's basically like my corporate environment.
Before you move to your entrepreneurship, right? Because I worked in corporate. You mentioned your drive. But something I know about you is your ability to have amazing relationships. You're very relationship driven. So would you say you learned that in corporate? Because you talk about who you know, right? So your drive can only take you so far.
Right.
So there has to be another factor there that knowing you, I think that was your secret weapon.
That was. I'm glad you said that, because it is. Sometimes we don't realize that the gifts that you have can be utilized in all aspects of your life. And one gift that took me a long time to acknowledge is that I do like to be around people. You know how some people are like, oh, I hate being around people. I want to be myself.
I know them.
I'm unapologetically an introvert, and I'm okay with that, because I just am, and I'm fine with that.
Well, there are times that you need to be a little selfish and be like, okay, I'm out of the light here. I'm going to go ahead and hide somewhere for a couple hours. But I love being around people. I love connecting with people. I love asking questions. I am the random person in the grocery store.
Yes, she is.
And I'm going to, I'm going to let Christina tell that story.
I just can't. Don't ever go in the grocery store, because Maylin is the same person. So it's like, you go into the grocery store. We were going in there for something. It was supposed to be a quick grocery run.
Yes,
and
never.
This woman is picking up cream cheese. I think it was like something. And my mom just couldn't help herself. She's just watching this woman grab this.
I wanted to help her.
And she's like, actually, the other one is on sale. And so this woman looks up at her like, what? And she's like, this is generic brand. The real brand is actually on sale, and you can get that one, and it's so much better. And they just started like having this full on conversation.
Then I asked her what she was gonna do,
and I'm like melting under the cart. Like, can you just come back over here and mind your? In my mind, I'm like, just mind your business. But that's just your personality. It's just like
we ended up exchanging recipes.
Of course you did.
I was like, you could do this and mix this and that, and this one melts better.
She's coming over for Thanksgiving, guys.
But sometimes I catch myself, I'm like, stop it. But then I just can't help it. It's kind of like this natural thing that, I feel like, back in the days, they might have said you just entrometía, you're just a nosy body, is what my grandmother would have said. Oh, you just want to be in everything. But I really just want to know people. Like, I want to know them. I want them to know that I see them, and I want them to see me. It's different than being heard. When someone sees you and really sees you, there's no description of what that makes you feel like. And you never know if that person at that moment needed to be seen. And you could have just changed something for them by just making one little comment or interjecting. Don't get me wrong. There are people that look at me like I'm crazy and like, all right, and ignore me. And I'm like, well, have a blessed day. I hope that helped. And I keep walking. I don't get mad. And my kids are like, oh my God, Mom, you act like you're running for office or something.
One day
relationships is important.
Yeah. And the network piece of it, as Maylin mentioned earlier, I think like you don't really realize that's what you're building. And especially just at the beginning of your career or even as young people, having the courage to engage in conversation or meet new people. I think a lot of us shy away from that because we're like, oh, I don't want to talk to people, or I don't know how to start a conversation.
Hola.
So it's just like, oh, I don't know what to say, or don't call on me because I don't want to speak in front of the class or the group or the company. And so like the ability to, be comfortable enough to engage in conversation naturally is one of those key elements that we do know is a big part of how you're able to succeed, whether in corporate America or in life or in business in general, because it is about that relationship building and building of the network. And so you mentioned earlier just the differences in those relationships. And so at what point, because I feel like that now, presently, there's all these buzzwords in terms of like mentors and coaches and things of that nature.
Sponsor.
Right, sponsors. But at what point, like, I would be curious from your generation, kind of like, what was it like back then in terms of just like identifying people, or were there people willingly open to helping you in that journey of whether it be in the beginning of corporate America or your transition to entrepreneurship?
That's a great question. I think for my generation, you're right, those are buzzwords that we know now, but that was not what you were taught or what you automatically knew. There wasn't a person that you can say, oh, she would be a great mentor, or she would be a great person to have in my circle. No, you basically, it went off of instinct, feeling, intuition, and just knowing, like, if you know what you want, like if you start learning what you want, you automatically know what to attract. And it was more of that kind of a, like the law of attraction. That was more what my generation depended on, the law of attraction versus all of these buzzwords with definitions.
But they didn't even know the law of attraction either. So they were just doing it naturally, right? What we call now.
What we call love, it was there,
Yeah.
but now what we call now the law of attraction. But yeah, it was naturally. You would just, there were people that automatically wanted to see you win, and you just knew those were the people you're going to connect with. And then there were people that didn't want you to win, and you still connect with those people because they don't want you to win. Why? So I would still be the one that you're like, so do you want to do lunch? And they're like, no. So what are you working on? And they're like, blah, blah, blah. They would still have to answer me. I would not shy away from someone just because they weren't willing to be that person, that mentor, that key. person.
Because you can learn from them, right? You can learn
can
a
learn
lot
from
from those
everybody.
that don't like you.
Yes.
You don't have to be best friends. Don't invite them to dinner. You know what I'm saying?
And I guess now they call those associates instead of friends.
Right.
I guess that's the key word
Right.
now.
Thanks to Facebook. I think
Yes.
Facebook.
Thanks to Facebook.
Because think about all the technology, just the evolution of technology. You know, like I think it's something many of us, even as millennials, like we were kind of at the beginning wave of like these different technology tools. And now, what is it? Gen Z, Gen X?
What are you guys?
Whatever the X, Z, your Z. Okay, so Gen Z, it's so like, what do you mean? Like, what, like,
What would life be without Facebook?
What would like, because you don't, it's not even something that you would ever think that it didn't exist before. So you almost a little bit take it for granted or don't know how to use that as a leverage or a tool. Because oftentimes I'm talking to my daughter who is 19 in college, and I'm like, well, do you have like your resume on LinkedIn? And she's like, no. And I'm like, but that's what that's for. So just not understanding how many tools there are now to really help individuals kind of really build, where before you had to organically go through all of these hoops and bounds to be able to build networks, build relationships.
Oh, I had the Rolodex.
Yeah, like the old school binder with the thing.
I had the Rolodex. I had the binder. I had the planner. I had the coolest Franklin Covey planner. Like it was just like the best. And I mean, but then I would be like, okay, where did I write that number down? Then I'm looking through the planner. I'm looking through the. So you're right. It was not as organic as it is now, where you can just stick it on your phone or take a picture of that QR code and you'll know who that person is. Mm-hmm. But it was, you had to be intentional. Mm-hmm. Like you had to really know what you wanted. And as you can imagine, even 19, 20, in my late 20s, my early 30s, I still didn't know what I wanted. So I was kind of like all over the place trying to figure out. But as I was all over the place, I was building those networks and those relationships because it just came natural. Now, if it doesn't come natural to you, then you need to figure out a way that you can make that happen. Mm-hmm. Don't sit behind that computer or behind that phone and think that things are going to happen because of the technology we have now. Yeah. There's nothing like a face-to-face relationship. I know, for example, our company, I worked there for 10 years. Did a lot of stuff for that company. And, I grew a lot there too. And then one day they came in and said, we're going to lay everybody off. They laid 353 people off. Wow. With about, 20-minute notice. I was the manager, so they gave us notice first because we had to make sure we kept everybody, So I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? Well, I had to go back to those networks. There were people that I worked with in other departments that now, knew about people in other companies and and so on and so forth. And within a couple of months, I had a couple different job offers that were amazing. Mm-hmm. I would have never been able to have that because I didn't have the education. I didn't have the degree. I didn't have the knowledge. Like the next job I got, I worked in I worked for telecom. But the next job was working for web hosting. How does the www dot blah, blah, blah works? I have no idea.
That was the beginning of the www.
I had no idea. But I got to manage the technicians that did. I didn't need to know what they were doing. All I needed to know is who to go to. So I had a new company, built new relationships. There were people in Atlanta working. We had people in Virginia. I started sending candy and cookies and lunch to all the different technicians throughout the states. And they're like, oh my God, what do you need, Maritza? So I never needed to know the answer. I just needed to know a phone number. Yeah. So that's what networking is. You don't have to know everything. Mm-hmm. You have to know who knows what you need. Yeah. And as Maylin asked earlier, yes, I learned that in corporate America. Mm-hmm. When some people will look at that and they shy away from it because they're like, it's not fair. It's because who they know. But I didn't look at it that way. I was like, okay, wait, there's got to be something behind this. Mm-hmm. Okay, because she doesn't know everything. Yeah. But she's making mad money and she's signing my paycheck. So what's going on?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting because a lot of like the millennials and Gen Z people we meet with, they're having a huge disconnect in how they're able to work alongside of people from different generations. And sometimes, like, I've had clients and people who have called me, it's like, I'm the youngest person in my department, or now I'm the manager of all these people that have been here 15, 20 years. And they get a hard time because they're like, okay, I've been here 20 years and you just graduated college. So like now you're my boss. And there's this awkwardness of, or like the shift in power. Mm-hmm. And I think it's hard because generations are so different. To your point, it's like, pick up the phone, let's have a meeting. And my generation is like, just text me. And it's not that I don't want to have this relationship with you, but it's hard because we're just from different worlds. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So what would you say, or any advice you can offer for our listeners who are kind of in this new season of leading or in a new area of just like growing, but they are coming up against so much opposition because our generations really are so different? And I guess it's just hard because I know I've dealt with that. I've had people who they just want a whole different way of communication, but it's very different from what I've been used to or what we've been used to.
And I think it's advice to both, right? Because you have a unique place, right? Because you've been with us and like the younger part, and then you were that older part too, right? So what would you say to those people that are older,
more seasoned? Older people don't like to be called to as older.
Seasoned.
The more seasoned, the extra seasoned fries. What would you say to them?
Guys, I'm a foreigner. I use warm words.
How do they work with us?
You know what? I'm going to have to say that you have to give and take in any relationship. So I think you work a business relationship with the same mindset that you work a personal relationship. If you're trying to build a relationship with your teenage daughter, if you're trying to build a relationship with, your seasoned mom, or if you're trying to work a relationship with a partner, you have to give and take. So you have to understand their language, and then they have to understand your language. But the only way you can do that is by being a little transparent and saying, I'll give you an example. Hey, Maylin, I know that you love for me to pick up the phone and call you. What's the best time for me to do that? Because usually my best way of doing it is texting. But if that doesn't work for you, what's the best time? So this way you're not completely putting out there, I'm not going to call her because I don't have time. You're letting them know what your best way is, but you're also letting them know that you're willing to bend. The seasoned people, we need to get with it.
Listen up, guys.
I'm telling you.
We didn't say this, by the way.
I'm saying this.
Don't flood my IG with that.
No. I'm saying it. I had the privilege of speaking at an event a couple weeks ago in Texas, and there was 6,000 entrepreneurs in the audience. And one of the things that we were talking about is the change, how the business has changed, blah, blah, blah. And most of the people that were there are seasoned. They've been in the business for quite a while. We're talking about 20, 30, 40, 50 years. It's multi-level marketing. Sometimes you start and you're there forever. And what I said was, the other speakers kept talking about, the business has changed. The business has changed. And I said, the business has not changed. What changed is how we do the business.
Right.
The business is still the same.
Same products, guys.
Same products. Walmart has the same stuff. Kroger's has the same stuff. Target has the same stuff. I love Target. Target has the same stuff. But the way they do their business is different. You're not going to walk down the aisle. You might just go on the line and order what you need. You might have them deliver it versus you going to pick it up. Or that's all it is. And once, as a seasoned person, individual, entrepreneur, or corporate person, once that person starts realizing, wait a second, I still know my products, I still know my business, I still know what I'm capable of, and I still know my worth and my value. I just got to find a different way to traffic this out. And that's all it is. And find what's easiest for you. I'm not saying, I'm in my 50s. And I love, love, love technology. Christina will tell you, I just bought an iPhone 13 and I saw that the iPhone 14 is coming out. And I've only had my 13 for about 3 months. I think I bought it 3 months ago. And I'm like, man, I should have waited. I'm sorry,
bougie.
but I'm getting that 14.
Wow.
Don't need the
I think I have an 11, guys. I don't even know what this
I
is.
don't even know.
I love technology. I bought the iPad Pro when it came out with the M1 chip and blah, blah, blah. And so for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. Just Google it.
It's Apple.
Yeah, Apple. Well, I went a couple weeks ago. I was like, I want the MacBook.
She's just bored,
Pro.
y'all. That's all
So I went
it is.
and
She
bought the
just
new
be
Mac.
She's just very
buying stuff.
successful, actually.
I like-
That's what it is. When you're very successful,
No,
that's
I'm curious. I'm interested in knowing what's going on
Yeah.
and how can I relate. My passion is to connect with the young folks, especially girls, but I do work a lot with young people. It's almost like natural. Like they want to hang
Oh,
around
they love
me.
you.
They like just, oh, you know, you want to go shopping, you want to go do this. But how am I going to be a resource to them? Or how am I going to be, you know, relatable or an asset to them?
Yeah.
If I'm standing over here going, oh yeah, we don't do that. I used to walk to school. I never took a Uber. What? And it would be snow all up to my knees.
Which is all true.
Which is all true. But
They don't want to hear that. They're like, that's your problem.
I tell them.
That's your childhood. Julia, it's so funny. I said something to Juliana. I think I was telling you this the other day. So I have a 13-year-old daughter, and you know, literally, like, they just are not doing their chores. And I'm like, I'm about to strike as a parent. Like, I'm not feeding you. I'm not taking you to school. Like, you guys need to get it together. So I'm like, just telling her, I was like, you know, when I was a kid, I straight had this moment. I was like, I didn't have to be asked to do laundry. I had to walk my siblings to school. I had to walk to the corner store to get groceries. So she hits me. She's like, so what corner store do you want me to walk to? She was like, you drive Adrian to school. What school do you want me to walk him to? And I was like, that's not the point. And she was just like, your life is different than my life. Your upbringing is different than my upbringing. And I was like, damn.
Yes, but you still need to do your chores.
Yeah.
So then what you need to do is find a different way to communicate the need of
Yeah.
those chores still getting done. Same thing.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
business hasn't changed. The chores got to get done.
Yeah.
Find a different way to get them to connect and see that that's something that has to be done.
Yeah.
I'm
that's-
Dominican. They'll take their phones. I'll take their phones off, guys. And I'll turn
Every
off
time I
Wi-Fi.
try to take their phones, then I need to call them. Back phones.
I'll
You know,
put parent
we don't
control,
have
only
house
I
phones
call you.
anymore. So the problem is when you ground your children and you take their cell phones, then it really disservices me.
There's
because
a system, Christina. I told you about the system. The
Oh,
parent
yeah.
controlling, where you can just have them just only you, mommy,
Ask
and
Jessica
and
about
dad
it.
can call. Yes,
can't.
and Gotti too.
I'm just not good with that.
It's okay. We'll get there. It's a different
Yeah.
system.
We'll
Same
get there.
product.
Different system,
I'll
same
come back
product.
and talk about that on the next
Yes,
There you
let's
go.
do that. Please help the parents, mommy. Help them. Thank
funny.
you.
So why entrepreneurship? I know you have had a great career. I think you ventured into entrepreneurship at least what 15 years. Okay, I was gonna guess
just celebrated
15.
my 15
Yeah.
July.
And
That's a
so
big
I know a
milestone.
lot of people often debate about entrepreneurship, and you decided to go into entrepreneurship 15 years ago before it became like this poppin' Instagram kind of like, oh, everybody should have a business. You decided that was something you wanted to venture into. Like, what appealed to you about wanting to go off on your own?
You know, sometimes things happen without you really choosing them. And I think that's what happened for me then. I was, like I told you, I was working in corporate America at that time. I had just been transferred to an office in Atlanta. Here I was a single mom with 4 little ones and got laid off, and I got an offer to go somewhere else. I was like, pack the bags, let's go. First we moved to South Carolina, then Atlanta. But in the process of that, I neglected to care for myself. And I had a stroke in my early 30s. I was like 32, 33. I had 2 minor strokes. And things started changing because then it was really difficult for me to continue to do the job that I was doing. But I still kept going, and then they laid me off again. And when I came back to Columbus, I decided, you know what? I need to start doing something that feels rewarding. Something that no matter what's happening in my life, I could still do it, but do it to where I'm not waiting for people to tell me I'm doing a great job. And entrepreneurship kind of fell on my lap. My sister-in-law said, you know, hey, there's an opportunity. take a look at it and see, you're really good with people. Why don't you blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'll try it. And one thing after the other kept happening, trying to get in my way. I became really sick again. I ended up in the hospital in a wheelchair and all this stuff. I was unable to walk for almost a year. But during that time, I was building my business.
Yeah, she sure was.
I turned the conference room at the nursing home that I was in into my office. I had to be there anyway. So I asked the administrator at the nursing facility, at the rehab center, can I use this room when you guys are not using it? And she's like, well, nobody uses it after 5. I was like, great. I'll wheel myself in there and make phone calls and have people meet me there. And I was training and coaching. And I started working on building. And when I left there, I was there for a few months. When I left there, I had this small little like this little empire that was just starting. I had already a foundation. And I say all of that because even when things seem like they're impossible, the only one that can make it or keep it impossible is you.
That's tweetable.
And I'm telling you, no matter what you've got going on, you are the only one that can keep you from being who you need to be and being where you need to go. And I had to learn that, really, really learn that. And I had to start loving me, regardless of whether I can, be in front of I loved corporate America. Don't get me wrong. I love being in front of people. I love being able to do presentations and do this and do that. But that passion didn't have to just be there. I took that passion and I turned it into the business that I've had for 15 years.
Yeah. And you've traveled all over. You've coached mega teams. You've done all kinds of different sales and development. And so something that started off as just like, oh, I'll see what happens. Like you've built over 15 years and have been able to travel the world,
for free.
Yeah, for pretty much free.
Yeah, for free.
Yeah, to be able to, do what you love to do, which is build relationships and help people figure out, how do they create structure in their businesses. And so I think it's a huge testament to your character and your ability to see opportunity even in, moments of opposition. And for you to be able to have had this longevity, especially in multi-level marketing, where some people are like, oh, it's not real, it's a scam. And I'm like, no, it's not. My mother's been doing it 15 years. She's traveled the world. She has a room full of trophies everywhere. I was like, it's not a scam. So it's a real thing. And it's such an amazing industry because it's about women and it's an empowerment. It's more than just beauty. And it's truly, I've been to some of the conferences and things and I'm like, wow, this is a vibe. Like it's, I mean, because it's really, really amazing to see what you can do when you just put your all into something. And so now that you're, 15 years doing this, you have corporate America, we're all grown, super grown. So what do you think is next? Like, I know you're working on some stuff and
you put me on the spot.
Can you share that?
Yeah.
If you're ready. I mean,
one of
if
those
you're
things
not,
that if I share it, that means I have to do it.
Yes, please share it.
I have been sitting on a couple of projects for quite some time, and I think, this is kind of like the reminder that, okay, it's time to kind of get those projects out there. I am working on a podcast as well. I have not launched the podcast yet. Pretty much have all of the pieces together. It's just now getting that
push.
That push.
Here's your push.
Here's my push, because now you're putting me on blast.
Yes.
To get it started. And I'm also working on a book. So I've been doing that for quite some time. And I'm, progressing along with that as well. And I'm also doing coaching. I'm doing some individual coaching. I don't do business coaching, but what I'm doing is just being able to help people identify where they want to go and what path they can build to get there. So I'm a life strategist. So basically, whether it's business related or, am I ready for a family? Am I ready to go back to school? Whatever it is, it's the same formula. Might be a different title, same formula. So I'm working on that. I've got a couple clients that I'm working with right now, and plan on doing some more traveling. I've I gave myself a challenge last year that I wanted to travel to 12 different places this year. And I've already been to 17. So that was on my dream board. And now I had to turn the board around and add some more because
What a life. What a life.
What an inspiration. You know what I'm saying?
you know what? It's something to look forward to.
Yes.
Yeah. When you put your mind to it, you can do it.
We love for you not to put pressure, but to put pressure that when your book is ready, when you're ready to share the book with the world and your new podcast, we'd love to be in your podcast.
Yeah.
And
We'd love to have you.
Yes. And
That
we'd
would
love
be
to tell our listeners that whenever you're ready to share that.
Yeah.
I would love to have you guys as guests. You know what? I think that it's time. Sometimes you just have to wait for that, I don't know, that feeling that, okay, it's time to get to that next level. And I have been in that space for about 3 months now. And I think it's time for me to just move to that next level. And I'm excited about it. Yeah.
It's exciting.
Yeah. We were there. We let me tell you. Remember, we launched from Mexico. We're like, we're launching now, today.
It's so interesting because, like, I think it was yesterday, I was like, oh my God, there's so much happening, right? But then I had to catch myself. I said, don't you dare. Don't you dare complain about something you prayed for, something you've been working so hard all these years. I mean, this has been, people see when you arrive. They don't see all of the hustle that goes into things for years. So it's interesting when people come up to us like, oh, and it's like, this is a 12-year journey, 12 years of building a company, 12 years of sacrifice, investing. Something didn't work. Okay, what do we do now? How do we pivot? And so it's a discipline. It's not something that you every day wake up super excited and motivated to do. Because yesterday I was like questioning my whole life. I'm like, I don't want to be an adult no more. I don't want to parent these children no more.
I got the phone call, Mom. I said, keep adulting. You got to keep it going.
I told my husband, I was like, aren't you sick of parenting? He was like, why would you say something like that? I was just like, I love my children, but the idea that
the morning is what gets you.
Dropping them off, picking them up, I got to feed them, I got to clean the house. It's just like, I just wanted to go time out and like, let's just everybody have a seat. But it's just even in the moments of the chaos, you have to really acknowledge the fact, like it's just like, I am where I'm supposed to be. You know, I'm supposed to be this leader. I'm supposed to be this mother. I'm supposed to be this, but also taking the time, as you said earlier, about self-care.
Yeah.
Because it's like, as much as we want to hustle and push through and all these, phrases that are meant to tell us we can push through our pain or what we're feeling.
Exhaustion.
That's a lie. Like if you start to get to a point where you're like, yo, my hand is shaking or my stomach hurts, my chest is too tight.
Headaches.
So like we have to take care of ourselves, even if that's just like going for a walk, taking a break, just being in the moment, finding somebody that you can reset with.
Yes.
When I get like that, I'll either call you or Maylin, or I'm like, hey, I need,
I'm like, come here, I'll feed you, girl. Come here.
So it's important that as you are in this journey, as Maritza has mentioned, of building and finding your path, whether it be in corporate or business, just in life, right?
Being a mom.
Like, being a mom, yes. You are listening to your body and you're listening to yourself, but never for a moment second guess that you aren't necessarily where you're supposed to be. And so...
Or that you can't do it, because you can.
You can. Even in a wheelchair in a nursing home.
My
you can build a busines.
I was building a business, right?
I came to check on her and I said, what are you doing? She was like, I gotta work. I'm like, she's in there looking all like ghostly. And I'm like, can you just sleep?
But the drive, though, because people don't want to make a call from their office, like with a coffee in their hands. Imagine. So now I'm like, Maylin, you better make that call.
Listen.
I couldn't wait for
she had her little robe on and she's in there like,
put a jacket
I was
over
like,
the robe.
oh my God.
That's what you got your love for jackets. It's right here.
My love for jackets. I have my little nightgown.
Listen, it didn't matter if my mom had a blazer or in Spanish a bata. And if you're Spanish, you know what that means. And it ain't a nice little cute bata either. No. She would have the same silk little tore up red bata for years. And she's like, still making it happen. Still making it happen.
Which tells you that those times when, sometimes we take for granted, right?
Yeah.
We like, well, I don't want to do this because it's uncomfortable. I think, walking away from this, one of the biggest things I'm taking is, it doesn't matter where you are or how uncomfortable, how hard it could be, like you should make that call, you should make that contact, right? Because that's just what
It's
pushed you
not
away.
worth it if it's not uncomfortable.
Yeah.
If you're too comfortable,
Then it ain't.
you haven't arrived.
Right.
You've arrived when you're still feeling very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I could go and speak, in 20 different places, and every single time I'm a nervous wreck.
Me too.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm sitting here with you ladies, and I was a nervous wreck. But it's because, I want to be impactful. I want to be intentional. I want to be purposeful. I don't want to just to do.
Yeah.
And you are.
Oh,
You
thank
are.
you.
You are. That means you care, and we love your passion. You are.
I love you, ladies.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. I feel like we have so much more we could talk about, but we're going to go on your podcast. So
Yes.
Just let us know when that date is. I know where you're at. I know where to pull up at.
How can people get in touch with you?
So right now, what I'll do is I will provide you guys some links.
Okay, great.
That you can share on the bottom of your podcast. And, I have also a number and email specifically for anyone that wants to just reach out and chat and kind of connect. So I'll get that information to you.
Wonderful. You need to connect with her. She's awesome.
Yeah.
I'll share her, I guess.
Oh, thank
Just
you.
keep an ear out for the podcast. And it's titled The Shit Nobody Talks About.
Yes.
So
Yes. Get ready, guys.
Get
I cannot
ready.
wait to go there.
get ready. Thank
All right.
you,
Well,
ladies.
thank you. And here at True Print for Life, we always like to close each one of our episodes with a little positive mantra. It's bigger than you.
Thank you so much for listening today. We're excited and we hope that you follow us on
Instagram, True Print for Life, YouTube channel, also True Print for Life. And make sure that you share, like, watch our videos. Make sure that you follow us on all streaming platforms.